To me, it just like started off realistic, and then like it gets so out of control so quickly.
Yeah.
Um, there's airplanes and there's Nazi. It's all sorts of shenanigans.
I thought Better Call Saul was like the better series. Like,
I never saw that.
oh really?
No, I never saw Better Call Saul.
I think it's better, like overall, like as a series.
All right. Chat, you ever see Better Call Saul? Give me a yay or nay while we get this started here. Travelers Championship 2023 PGA DFS picks, predictions. We're answering your questions. We're talking about what we got going on. We're here to make some money at Stokastic. You guys know the drill. Live before lock action. I am Ben Rasa. That is Geoff Ulrich. Yeah, it's the week after a major, but it's an elevated event. The field is here. The course is here. We got a lot to get to. I love this week. So I'm very, very excited. We're going to look back at the Open. We're going to look forward to River Highlands. We're going to talk a little weather as well. Sir, little Wednesday night action. How are we doing coming off the third major of the season?
I mean, I'm doing great. The first 4 people in the chat said no. One guy's Justin saying he's never saw Breaking Bad. Man, I thought everyone had seen these shows. Okay, but that's cool. No, I mean, look, you guys should go see it. But anyways, U.S. Open was it was interesting. I mean, I had fun. I thought it was competitive, good event. I thought it was way more intriguing than the PGA. It seems so long ago, but like it was, it's an interesting weekend, man. I mean, I had some Rory exposure. It just does not want to happen for Rory right now. There's not much else to say. Wyndham Clark, I mean, man, I was bullish on the guy to start the season, but like I was not this bullish. Like I just did not see this level of consistency. The signs were there though, man. I mean, he dusted a field at the Wells. Everything just seemed to come together for him. He always had the game where he was long off the tee and could putt. And I think if anything you take away from Wyndham Clark winning, look for those kind of prototypes, guys who can putt as well as just bomb it off the tee. If they ever get it together, that's the upside we just saw, with a guy like Wyndham Clark. It's kind of like when Gary Woodland finally broke through. He was a little bit more obvious in my opinion, but yeah, man. I mean, crazy week. I like the course too, by the way. I don't care that it played a little bit easier. I don't know what your take was, but
I don't know. I was super excited. I didn't care that it played a little easy. What I didn't like, I thought, and maybe it goes to the easiness. There were just so many spots where it was like, oh, well, you can't go in that one spot right by the bunker, and then they'd go right in there and really didn't matter.
Yeah,
that part was a little frustrating. Obviously, I mean, I'm rooting for Rory, so like, I guess it's frustrating to see on 18 you screw up your shot and you're not punished at all. But again, that's just the layout. Clark, he won that tournament. I give him a lot of credit because he could have gone away a lot. I got to change my mindset. That my biggest takeaway is that these guys that come in, you can go from a middling tour player to a PGA Tour winner to a major winner, not in a span of years, but in months. And we're going to see this more and more. I'm going to just throw out like a Justin Sue. It was like, oh, is he even good? He's starting to get it together. Like if he just goes out and starts winning tournaments, it's not going to be that crazy. There are so many guys that get better quickly now. And that's a big takeaway for me.
Yeah, that's exactly kind of what I was getting at with like, you notice these guys, you pick up on them. Like, Ludwig Aberg is a guy just to keep an eye on. I mean, when he starts to get it together, it could just happen so fast. So yeah, I think that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, as far as like the rest of the field goes, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was, Rory just looks so good. I was glad he got it together. The putts just don't want to fall for him. I thought he played fine. Some people were roasting him on Twitter. I kind of get it. At the same time, like, I mean, it was close, but I thought it was a fun event. Some guys just, again, Patrick Cantlay starting so slow in a major. Xander, I thought was going to win it for a while, and then the putts just stopped falling, and he was just turned into a disaster. And then Ricky, man, I mean, did you ever think Ricky was actually going to win?
No, not for 1 second. Not to say like I thought he could play well. I wanted him to win. But no, I never thought that he was going to win.
When he started holding those putts in round 3, I was like, okay, maybe this is destiny. But as soon as he started off poorly in round 4, you're just like, it's Clark or Rory, and that's pretty much it. Or Scheffler, who again,
I thought Scheffler was going to win.
Honestly. I really thought when Scheffler finished eagle birdie on round 3,
Yeah.
That was the one guy too at the end of round 3 because I had some Rory exposure, and I was like, oh, just need Scheffler to get in like 5, we'll be fine. And then he goes eagle birdie, and I'm like, he's going to shoot 65 and win tomorrow, but he never really got it going either. So it's kind of funny. Wyndham Clark just able to, elevate to where these guys like Rory and Scheffler just couldn't go. But
deep, talented fields, man. These guys are ready to go. And we'll see. That's the fascinating part, kind of to move forward now. It's an elevated event. This is not like everyone gets a breather. We're going right to it, and let's get things started. And we'll get started with our friends over at DraftKings with Rainmakers. Again, just another way to play. Say it every time, and it's true every time. No matter what your interest is, always take the free stuff. And there is a free DraftKings Rainmakers pack ready to claim. It is in the link below. You see all those contests in the lobby. You see hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're pouring into this platform. There are shows here on Stokastic talking about it, but at the very least, build your collection through the free cards and then check out the marketplace. See what you want to do. It's a great opportunity to at least build those foundational pieces so you can claim your PGA starter pack below. You see all these contests on the screen. Just a really, really cool format and one that's not going away anytime soon. Get ready before NFL because I can only imagine what they have in store there. But let's talk about, whether you're playing Rainmakers or traditional DFS, we head to kind of my neck of the woods, Cromwell, Connecticut. I think I pass it when I go to Foxwoods for any of you casino people. I like River Highlands. What do you make of this course? What do you make of the skill set we need? And then we'll talk about a field that doesn't always show up here. This is a loaded field this year.
Yeah, I think that's something to keep in mind too when you're looking at things like course history. Like, don't forget, those T8s from 2018 aren't against stacked fields. So keep that in mind. But I mean, this is, to me, it's just like such a dichotomy between the U.S. Open and then coming here, because this is just the 6,800 yard par 70. And the big difference between River Highlands and like Harbor Town is the fairways are easy to hit here. So I think that's given, I think that's a little bit of the reason why players like Bubba and Dustin Johnson have had some success. There's just a little bit more room here to get a little bit creative with the driver and spots. You're not as punished as much as perhaps you are at those courses for being offline. And I think the bigger hitters have found that just a little bit better. It's also the biggest thing about River Highlands. I mean, it's obviously an easy course. Like, we're talking approach, we're talking putting here, but it uses POA greens. And you look at the correlation with the West Coast guys. I mean, I already brought up Bubba. He loves Riviera. DJ's won a Riviera Pebble. Ches Reavie has been a Pebble beast over his career. Even Streelman always pops up there. It's a real correlation with this event and course with the West Coast. So it's something I'm kind of keying in on a little bit. And it's something to keep in mind that we got the POA greens in play. I think it does lend itself to, certain players more than others. But all in all, just it should be a birdie fest. I think it's going to be a little soft because of the rain too. And you're just looking for players to get hot with their irons. This is not a tough course by any means, but it is what I call a veterans course. Like, you experience it a couple times. And I think, again, that shines through in the winners. All those guys I just mentioned, they're also like 30, 35, 40. Like, it's a veterans course, and veterans can go low here regardless of how far they hit it off the tee.
Are you doing anything specific with the weather? Because it's not really wind. It's just, I've been told, I was just talking and I was saying it's supposed to rain here for like 5 straight days. I don't know what's going on. It's just going to be nasty. I guess PM, AM has some advantage, but you also have to understand, of course, if there is just one delay, everything that you planned for, if it's before the cut, is out the window. Like, one delay and everything can get changed. So it's a very tricky thing to build for.
Yeah, I mean, you said Friday, you said PM AM, right? Was the kind of way you're leaning? Yeah, that I would agree. That's kind of what I would be doing. I think your goal there is, perhaps just avoiding some kind of delay or weirdness with the Friday afternoon. That seems to me like the spot would get affected the most. So yeah, I mean, how you play it, and again, I think that actually does lend itself to a little bit this week. I see it like you. Like, I don't see it as anything crazy. The wind's not necessarily coming up, but if I can avoid some stoppages, sure. And you're still going to get a soft course. Lots of players have gone low in the PM wave here too. Like, this is just a course that doesn't firm up that much in the afternoons, in my opinion. So I would be comfortable with that. There's a lot of players I like in the afternoon wave too. So that's kind of the way I've been leaning. And I think that's probably the way, if you're going to stack just like, for single entry or three mans or something like that, if you're multi-entry and get exposure both ways, but if you're looking for like a one single entry kind of way to lean, I would definitely lean PMAM as well.
Yeah, I think that's the prudent move. But to be clear, like I'm gonna have plenty of builds that incorporate both. But I think if you're looking to stack one side of it, that's the clear, obvious advantage in my mind. Doesn't mean it'll come to fruition, but that's what we see. But let's talk about the golfers, because it doesn't really matter what we do if we don't get the right guys. And if you want to go PMAM, well, you have Scheffler, Rory, and Rahm as options who lead off pricing. Xander and Cantlay or AM, PM, but you have 5 north of 10. Cantlay comes in 13th every year here somehow. I don't really know what that means. Of course, Jeff and Rory. I mean, where do you start? Again, it's like a major.
Yeah, I mean, again, you put Patrick Cantlay on a course like this, I just think he feels so much more comfortable. He's a great wedge player. He just likes these shorter setups, and he can just go to town on them. And if the putter shows up, and the putter, the one thing I'll note about Cantlay, like his stats don't look great. I think he lost strokes on approach, but his putter did show up last week. And I mean, if that pulls over again, like we have seen him go nuts on courses like this before. So I know Cantlay is also the chalk here, but I would prefer him over Schauffele. And I mean, like it's hard for me to say, oh, like don't play Scotty Scheffler, but at the same time, like if you've been betting Scotty Scheffler, and I know we're not really talking about that area, but you've been betting him at plus 600. He hasn't paid off. And I'm just not sure if this is necessarily going to be the spot where he pays off either. We're talking about a putting contest on tricky little POA greens. If I was playing one of the top 3 in a we're talking big field, looking at ownership, I would take Jon Rahm here. I would play the West Coast angle. I think Rahm was really good last week. He was solid across the bag. He's a better putter than Scheffler, and I think this is more of a putting contest. So I'll take Rahm here over the top 3. And like I said, I kind of like Cantlay just as a very safe, put him in whatever kind of build you want play as well. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. Rahm, the bit of the contrarian move. I'll take the lower ownership on him.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in line with that. I like Rahm quite a bit. Again, I would love to get, and I hope to get some exposure to basically all of these guys. Not going to be able to get over on all of them, of course. And it is, I mean, we're splitting hairs because they're all so good and they can do it anywhere. But it is true that if you look at Scheffler, I mean, it certainly doesn't scream a dominator of California, because that's just not where he's done his best work.
It's actually where he had his worst results.
I mean, POA has not been
his
kind
standards.
to him either. Yeah, but yeah, exactly. I mean, his standards are ridiculous. He's got 5 straight top 5s, 3 straight top 3s. Everything is just surgical. There's nothing to knock in his game. But again, we have to split hairs. And it's funny how different, I'm not going to say the narratives, but like Rory isn't exactly playing terrible golf either. 7th, 9th, and runner-up last week. So his form is right there. You really have ample options. If I was playing one, it would be Rahm. I guess Rory would be second for me, but I'm pretty much in line that Scheffler would be last, not because I think he's going to play bad, but he's the most expensive, and he's the one that I think is maybe a little more prime to give you a middling finish. So my only other question to you, how feasible do you think it is to play Rahm and Cantlay together, to play Rory and Xander, some combination of 2 of these guys?
So yeah, I mean, I was making lineups last night, and I mean, I think it's more than feasible. It's feasible. I'm just not sure if I like it as much as I potentially should or could. There's definitely players under 7K in price who I think are like very good for this course and for this setup and just for this week. So I'm down with it. I mean, I think that again, your third player in is going to be, you're kind of going to have to attack that low 7K range, but Rahm and Cantlay, I think makes sense. I would probably prefer to start with Cantlay and go to the 9K range, but certainly you can make them this week. And I think that the nature of this course too, I mean, again, you hit on the right putters down below. It's not going to matter. I mean, they're going to finish top 20 because pretty much anyone in this field can shoot like 63 if their putter gets hot on this course. So yeah, I don't mind it at all. If you're looking to stack, it's certainly a week you can do that.
Yeah, definitely a week you can do that. There's ample options. And we'll see, but let's kind of work down because there's plenty of other names. And if you do go very aggressive, you might not have room for Hovland, for Finau, Morikawa, who I thought actually played pretty well last week. Fleetwood is playing great, but he's now starting to really get the bump. He was mid 7Ks in a lot of these type of fields pretty recently, and he's paid off. Now he's 9,300. Expensive. Wyndham Clark as well at 9,200, who I doubt people will look to play. Ricky, same thing. So to me, the 9K range is filled with a handful of guys that are new additions to the 9K range in a field of this caliber.
Yeah. Look, I mean, no one's playing Wyndham Clark this week. I mean, I'm not playing Wyndham Clark either, but just going to point that out. If you are looking for like the true pivot in this range, I mean, the guy just won the US Open, so he's pretty good at golf, but yeah, it's a good point to throw out there. I mean, these guys just aren't, we haven't seen them in this type of field in this range, obviously, before. Fleetwood's generally in the 8K range. Now he's up at 9,300. To me, the best play here is just play Morikawa. I know he's going to be a little bit heavily owned, but he's not going to be that heavy owned. He's not going to be as chalky as Cantlay or anything. And I think that him and Cantlay make for a pretty safe pairing. Really like the way Morikawa played. The irons are there. If you want to look back to the two spots he did actually gain strokes putting this year were at Riviera and the Farmers. So I think that correlates well with this week. I'm not in on Hovland at all right now. I think just maybe he's played a lot of golf. This isn't really a spot where he's had much success in the past, and he's still at 9,900. Finau's the interesting one for me. I was kind of interested in him in the start of the week, maybe even think about betting him. The putter wasn't great, but he played okay in spots last week. The irons were there. I could see him going low. He's torn up some shorter courses. So I think Finau's a pretty interesting, if you're going to start under 10K, a guy to start with. But I like Morikawa the most in this range. I'm going to have some Fleetwood exposure. I don't really think this is a spot for Tommy coming off a big major, but it could be. And he's just playing too good right now for me to really say anything else. I mean, he's playing out of his mind. He's playing great golf. He's putting well. He's doing everything well. So Clark and Fowler are going to be fades for me. And Morikawa is definitely the favorite play in this range.
Agree. I bet Morikawa is my first bet this week. Anything in the 25 to 30 to 1 range, I think is really, really good. I also think that Finau, Morikawa, and Fleetwood together leaves you 71 and change. I like those three together. Yeah, you're living a little dangerously, but if one of the big names doesn't win and a random person wins, you're going to be in pretty good shape with that type of build. The last guy in the 9s is Fitzpatrick, who to me is a little lost. Not that he's going to be crazy low owned. It just, I don't know what to do with him. I guess I'm kind of indifferent to the play.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like you want to say, oh, he's not playing that good, but I mean, he's actually playing fine. I mean,
fine.
Maybe he's not hasn't been striking it elitely yet, but he's certainly not a disaster or anything. And he's a guy who can just go out there and shoot 62 because of his putter on a course like this at any point. So, yeah, ideally we want Fitzpatrick on Bermuda greens. I guess that's maybe a reason not to play him. I think the main reason I'm not really going to use Fitzpatrick is just there's two names underneath him who we've seen in this range before, and I just prefer them slightly. So that'd be like Homa and either Sanjay or Hideki for me. So I've kind of come around to Homa. I mean, I talked about the West Coast connection. So much pressure on him last week. I think he'll come out and be fine here. I like that price. Again, we've seen him at like 9,400 in these fields before. So I think 8,900 is a good time to strike with Homa.
Yeah, I mean, Homa absolutely sets up. Well, we had a couple questions from chat. There definitely could be a hangover. I think the difference this year in general is that basically the whole field played the US Open. So we're going to have to deal with some of that. It is, of course, a long travel, and some of these guys have played Memorial to Canada to LA to Cromwell. That's not ideal. Looking at you, Thigala, but we're going to have to deal with it. You don't think Fleetwood will be crazy owned after the last 2 weeks? I think he would have been if he was Russell Henley's price. Yeah, he's going to be popular, but I do not think he's going to be crazy owned at 93. No.
Yeah, we got him again. Stokastic projections, can't recommend him enough, guys. But we have him coming in around 13%, which really isn't that bad. And I think that's pretty, like, that's a pretty good estimate. I mean, I would be shocked if he got much above 15, maybe in the bigger GPPs. But he's been priced up. Like, there's no discount on Tommy right now. I mean, he's basically him and Homa. He's more expensive than Max Homa. Max Homa's basically been more expensive than him all season, and now it's flipped. So take that into account.
Absolutely. Last comment, my favorite, of course, AJ turned a little $200 in 24K last week. That's what we're talking about. That'll play, my friend. Congratulations. Well done by you. We're in the mid-range. Let's talk about some of these guys. And then I'm also going to talk about some of the tools. You mentioned our ownership and our projections. I'm going to talk about sim tools as well. If you didn't see that demonstration last week, just fantastic stuff. But the top of the mid-range is absolutely, it's not outrageous, but it's fascinating. Homa's been disappointing. Sanjay's been disappointing. I don't know what you call Justin Thomas. He said embarrassing, and that sums it up pretty nicely. If there is a guy who is truly unowned, I'm talking sub 5%, it's going to be Justin Thomas. So what do you do with JT and these guys? I know you said you like Homa, but these guys are not playing good golf.
No, for sure. It's pretty interesting because, like, Sungjae obviously is also in that conversation. He's been pretty bad for like 4 events now. I'm definitely in on 1 or 2 of these guys. I mean, like just for a DFS play to just kind of, to just get in on some lower ownership. I mentioned Homa. I'm absolutely fine with that. I think he'll be okay. But I think Sungjae is really interesting. Sungjae's played a lot, and we've seen him go through this before. I don't think there's anything overtly terrible with what he's doing. He's just, it seems like a little off. He's had good stretches. He started well at the Colonial, then he just fell apart for a couple holes. I have far more concerns with Justin Thomas. I think Thomas could get it together, but at this point with Thomas, you have to see something, in my opinion. I don't think him has been as bad. He's just going through a couple like rough stretches where it seems like he just blows his tournament. I think he could get it together on a course like this, the scores course. So Sanjay is interesting to me at 87. Hideki's fine. I worry about Hideki in a putting contest on POA greens. I worry about any greens. It doesn't even really matter, but it's a putting contest for Hideki. So he's solid though. The other guys all have question marks. For me, I'm fine taking a shot with Sanjay. Just realize what you're getting in with these guys, because I have no idea when this is going to flip. But the ownership to me is worth taking a shot. And I think him makes the most sense.
So Sanjay is definitely a guy I'm interested in. I looked back and this is not, A, it's not overly predictive, and B, I'm cherry picking a little, but I basically looked back for the last 3 years, stretches where Sanjay struggled in 3 or 4 straight events. In 2019, he went miscut, 51st. He played the next week at API and he came in 3rd. The next season, miscut, 57th, played in Canada, came in 7th. Just last year in 2022, Sanjay, miscut, 81st. He came in 2nd the next week. He can turn it around pretty quickly out of nowhere. So it doesn't mean he's just coming in 2nd this week, but he has shown multiple times in his career he can have 3 or 4 weeks where he's done nothing and he flips it into a top 10 right off the bat. JT, I think there's only one way to play him. And I'm not saying that you can't do this, but there's no indication that JT is going to play well. It's just that you're saying, I'll never get him at sub 5% ownership at this price tag. And that's worth it to me to blindly back him. Because there's no indication he's going to turn it around. You're just backing long-term talent that you know he's a better player than this.
Yeah. Nice thing is too, I mean, if you're mixing him in, especially this plays like this are always nice if you're like, maxing the $5 or whatever, because you can just throw in like 5, 6 and you're going to be over the field. So yeah.
And I like that. Again, I know it seems like you're donating, and in some ways you are until you get it. But when you do hit it, like if JT wins, and it's not impossible for me that JT could win. Like, I know it's golf and it's like, well, yeah, you could say that about 100 guys, and that is true, but guy's got serious talent. So
yeah, and people are saying, oh, this is like the Spieth decline for him. I don't think so. I just don't think Justin Thomas. He's just too good. in my opinion, to go through that big a dip. I'm sure he could. It doesn't mean he can't play poorly for a couple more events or whatever, but I mean, he'll figure it out. And when he does, I don't think it's going to be like this gradual tiny return. It's just going to be like, okay, he's back.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I do like Hideki. I am taking a plunge there, and I agree that it's a risk because we don't know if he'll like this, but he is striking it so well. I think he masked what would have been a really good showing last week with just god-awful putting. He gave him almost 9 strokes on the approach. I like this course for him. If he has a surface, it probably is POA. Weather's not going to bother him. So I think he's good. And let's round out the bottom. You've got Cam Young, Day, Thigala, Tom Kim, Lowry, Si Woo. Playable names, of course. Is there a favorite or two that stick out for you?
So this is my conspiracy theory with Cameron Young. It's not a conspiracy theory, but it's basically my reasoning for playing him and liking him this week. You got a guy who's played well on the West Coast, Riviera, etc. He's made a couple cuts in a row now. He gained strokes everywhere at the US Open. It wasn't fancy or great, but he did gain strokes putting finally. And he just think about this if you're Cam Young. You just saw Wyndham Clark win not only once against an elevated, but twice at the US Open. Cameron Young has the same game as Wyndham Clark. He dusted Wyndham Clark all 2022. Like, it wasn't like if you had compared at this point last year in 2022, someone comes up to you, you're going to take Wyndham Clark, you're going to take Cameron Young. Are you fucking kidding me? We're taking Cameron Young. And now he just sees this guy. I think Cameron Young's going to be very motivated. That's basically my theory here. He's got to be, doesn't he? And I think he's playing a little bit better. And as we mentioned off the top, we've seen DJ, Bubba, some of these big hitters come in and just kind of, be able to just tear this little track apart. Cameron Young's done it at RBC. I'm taking a shot with him. Everyone just seems to be down on him, not liking him. I don't mind it. I'm going to keep playing him a little bit here until we see something. And you know what? You go back to last year, he went through a couple rough patches and he snapped out of it real quick, at the RBC and at the St. Andrews. So I don't mind playing him here. But I don't mind a couple other players. I actually don't mind Jason Day. Our projections kind of like him. I'm actually kind of out on Thigala, which pains me to say. I feel like his play has dipped a little. The off the tee is a little bit concerning. It's just gotten too inconsistent. Lowry, I just not taking in a putting contest. I don't really know what to do with Tom Kim. I should probably just eat my medicine and just get some exposure, but I'm probably just going to go full fade because I think everyone's just going to play him.
20% owned potentially. Yeah. That's a lot. So Cam Young is someone that I actually think I've had I took some lumps at points last year because I really wasn't high on him. And then I've gotten paid back with interest. I've really shorted him hard. I have some this week. He definitely seems like he's one of these guys that may benefit from some technical layouts. POA could help him because I think the glaring difference you mentioned, the difference that I see between him and Wyndham Clark is that there's a chance that Cameron Young can't putt at all. And Wyndham Clark can really roll it. This guy, again, I've taken some shots at Cam Young over the last month or two. We'll see if he can get it together. Thigala, I bet, and I took a really shitty number on him, and I'm a little upset about that, but I think he's a better bet than DFS play. He was runner-up here last year. I know that he can do it. He's played 4 straight weeks all over the country, a lot of short game. He's a big boom-bust guy. He's been finding cuts maybe in miraculous ways at time. He's made a couple on the number. So I'm not saying buyer beware, but Thigala, I've cooled a little bit, but I do have the outright play on him. What about Si Woo? Because he's also extremely popular.
I mean, I don't really have a problem with Si Woo. He didn't play. I really liked him last week. He looked pretty good after round 1. I thought he was going to get in the mix, and he just kind of fell apart a little bit. I don't really know what to think. I mean, again, like a guy I'd rather have on Bermuda greens, but certainly he's showed up at other places too. I mean, I'm just kind of neutral. I mean, I think he's fine. Again, he's going to be popular, but like the other players around him are popular too. So he may not end up being even that popular. He may be the least owned of Tom Kim and Henley, right? So I'm okay with it. I think he's a safe play. That's about it. I'd probably rather play him than Tom Kim, but that's only because of ownership, really.
Yeah, I mean, both of those guys, again, they're going to garner a lot. You're going to see a lot of builds that are, one of the elites, Cantlay, Scheffler types, and then a couple of Tom Kim and Siwoo and Russell Henley as we work down to the upper sevens. You're the Henley Whisperer. He's a guy I know you've bet a ton, you've played a ton over the years. He sets up great. There's no doubt about it, but he is also 100% over owned. So how do you kind of balance those two factors?
I mean, I think you just play him. I really do. I think if you like him and he fits in, he's absolutely fine. It's just he's such a good wedge player, and he's such a good short par four player that he's going to hit a ton of fairways. He's going to have mid to short irons in, and he's not going to miss many of these greens. And he's come here and not putted well and made cuts and been fine. Yes. And he's almost won this event a couple times. He's been in the final group here. It's a really good track for him. I hate the fact that he's 78. I wish he was 8,800 this week, because then I would just play him and he would be lower owned. But
yes,
I think it's absolutely fine to just play him. Just be field average. I bet him. He's the first guy I bet at like 50 to 1. His number dropped right after. So I feel pretty good about
30 to 1 now. He's unbettable at these numbers.
No, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? So he's obviously been pumped up, but it's just a very, very solid player who's playing well, and it's the exact kind of track, I mean, that you want him on. So I don't think there's much risk. It's just that, your upside is going to be limited because the field is going to be so heavy on him. Just, if you don't use him and Scheffler and like Siwoo. I mean, that's just probably not a great start. So
there are pivots around him, or just guys that you could play with him. Again, they're not like, oh, they're not going to be popular either. This whole range is full of names from Adam Scott to Corey Connors. Harris English and Denny have shown real promise in recent weeks. Min-Woo Lee was fantastic last week. All guys that I don't have hot takes are projections and ownership. They're all grayed out pretty well, particularly Corey Connors, and we're going to talk about some of the tools in just a second. But what do you make of the rest of the upper sevens?
So one guy I really do like, and I mean, I love where he's situated, but I like Adam Scott this week a lot. Really high-end putter. Really good on the Poa Greens this year, just last couple seasons. And, again, playing just this veteran trend of Justin Rose, Jason Day, they're grabbing these wins on these easier courses. I know we think about, it's a birdie fest. The young players, we gotta take the young players because they're the only ones who can get to 24 under. But these old guys can putt, man. Like, and Adam Scott can putt right now. And he's coming in fresh because he didn't play the weekend. He shot pair of 63s at the Byron. He's 13th of this event in 2021. I could see this being the spot where he grabs his like Justin Rose comeback win. I really like him this week. I'm definitely playing him just for the simple fact that when I'm in this range, I'm going to get him at half the ownership of these other guys. And he's produced. I mean, outside of the US Open, he has absolutely produced. So that's kind of a guy I'm taking a stand with. I really like Scott. You're going to get good ownership on him. And like you said, you can play him with Henley if you still want to. So I don't have a hard take on Keegan. He always seems to play okay here. Doesn't seem to be in the best form. I don't know what to do with Harris English. This is exactly the trend that he had in 2021 when he came here and won, but I don't really trust him enough that he's going to do that. Probably going to be a full fade on Min-Woo, who is a really, really high-end player, but I just think this is the exact opposite kind of track you want to take a chalky Min-Woo Lee on. Big off the tee. He's never played this course before. I mentioned it's a veterans track. Kind of just out on him. I'd probably actually rather play Denny over him, which sounds weird to say, but it's true.
Oh, it's definitely true for me. Min-Woo again. You can follow me at old Jazzraz DFS. I do my stupid tweet. The fade was Min-Woo. Not because I hate him, not because I think he's terrible. Limited experience, if any, on POA. A weird like I do think that these technical tracks, it helps when you like whether we're talking Harbor Town or River Highlands or Sawgrass, it just helps to play them. And yes, Decky has not seen it, but Decky's a different player completely for a lot of different reasons. So I'd rather play Denny. I'd rather play a lot of these guys. Before we get to the next batch of players. There's no better time really when we're talking about lineup construction and some of the tools and whatnot. I know some of you guys, a lot of you, because we got a great group here. We're here last week with the US Open, and we brought on Brian Berryman to explain really these sim tools that they have developed. You've seen it for baseball, you've seen it for basketball. It's here for golf now. I don't want to overstate it, but it really is something new and different and exciting. And I played DFS for a while. I remember when optimizers came. I remember when projections came, and this is kind of the new thing. And just some of the capabilities that this has is really unreal. You're basically able to import thousands of lineups. You put them in there. We sim out the tournament 40,000 times, and we give you ROI by player, ROI by lineup, all sorts of things. You can boost players. You can omit players. It is really, really good advanced stuff. And if you want to check it out, of course, link is below. We've had the month package. People want to test it out. We've got I can't tell you how many people emailed asking, can you do it for a week? We have now a week trial. You can check it out. It's $60. It's on that landing page. Jordan just dropped it in chat. If you are looking to see this kind of stuff and see what you can do, I really, really recommend it. I obviously worked with the devs a lot on this stuff. It is not the way I build, and I've been using it just to speak to its power, because it's just fascinating stuff of what you can do. It can change it. Even if you don't build 150, I do not build 150. I've been using this for the 4 max, the $250 4 max, and seeing what I can do. So just wanted to give them a shout out, Geoff. I know you're excited about this as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I was just going to clarify for anyone who's like new to it, but again, like, you're simming the DFS tournament. Like,
that's the crazy part
about simming the actual PGA tournament. You're simming like lineups against each other. So it's giving you real data as to how your lineup would perform, which I think is, you know, like Ben said, you could just spend hours diving and gain, just see where your advantages lie and stuff. So yeah, it's awesome. There's a try. I'm not shocked that people want to try it out and stuff. It's probably well worth your time to do so. So
yeah, so it's available for a week or a month. The link is below in the description of this video. And the other thing, if you're looking for, if you're saying I want tutorials and whatnot, you can go to Greg Ehrenberg's Twitter. You can go to our YouTube. There are so many kind of how-tos out there. We'll be glad to help you and walk you through it. Now, I don't care what you use. We got to find the right golfers. And Benny on, Brian Harman. These are the type of names that are next up. I think we have to take Brian Harman on its own here, because this guy is just a River Highlands master. He's going to be popular, and he should be at this price. But what do you do with course history like this with a player like that?
Yeah, I mean, okay, well, Harman's one of those guys where I mentioned off the top, like, you have to take his results with a tiny bit of a grain of salt, because he's been playing against less than stacked fields here. But at the same time, just like Russell Henley, I mean, this is a dream course for Brian Harman. It's no stress off the tee, wedges and mid irons, and just putting. And that's what Brian Harman does so well. So I like him at 7,500. And I'm a guy who just usually, whenever Brian Harman comes into the conversation, it's just like, yeah, who else can I play? But again, we have a stacked field. Yep. And he's not projecting with like super high ownership, which I like. He's fine in our scoring projections. You got guys like Denny in front of him. And I mean, like, the alternatives are okay. I mean, I don't mind Benny Ann, but, I mean, he's cooled off a little bit. And I just think Harman's upside on this course probably a little better. Yager's also interesting, though. That's the other guy at this range I'll definitely have exposure to. I bet him because, like I said, from the start of the year, I mean, I do think that this guy has another level that we haven't seen yet, but Harman's absolutely fine in this range. And I think Jaeger is the other play. I'm fine. I'm actually fine probably just fading Benny this weekend. I mean, I got no interest in Kuchar. I know it pains me to say it, but
just putting,
just never getting it done. I mean, he's actually been really solid this year.
He's been so good.
Yeah. I mean, I think that if this was like Bermuda greens or something, I would be interested, but it doesn't have the greatest course history.
No.
It could happen. It could. This could be it. And I'll look like an idiot, but
I'm going to talk about looking like an idiot. Strike this from the tape with what I'm about to say. I think there's a chance, and I am banging on this a little, Hideki, Benny. We've talked about some guys that really can stripe it, but can't putt. I think
Yeah,
there is a chance with the crazy weather that it
right.
changes the greens and neutralizes putting a little. Like it could be soaked, it could be nasty.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to become as big. It might just be an iron competition, a little more than normal here with the rain.
That makes sense. I do think that the rain helps, especially a guy like Hideki who's just like so good with his irons. So
That's what I mean. Just
yeah,
target practice out there. And I think Benny in some ways can benefit. He's an elite around the green player. He just can't putt.
I think if you're building like that too, like I think Yager and Benny would benefit. Like Harman and Kuchar would not benefit, and I think Yager and Benny would definitely be the beneficiaries there. So maybe again, if you're building like you got Hideki in there, you may look to correlate that with those two guys in that range. I kind of like that idea. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that's where skill set stacks I think are really, really important. Because if you're gonna do it, just do it.
Playing the TD Green guys instead of basically the putters. So.
Now I don't know what this category this guy falls into because he just might be good. Yeah. Maybe he can't putt, and that is Ludwig Aberg. Obviously he can play a little bit. He's making cuts out here already. He played in Canada. He seems reasonably priced. I have him in my pool. Normally I wait and see, but I've seen enough. I think he's more than playable.
Yeah, I would agree. The thing about Aberg too is, I mean, like these guys are coming in from like the PGA University. They've already been dominating, and I mean, like with Aberg, this is what his fourth event. I mean, he's proven it like 3 times already that he can come to these courses and just reel off a top 30 without having seen anything. And if he actually gets hot with his putter or something, I definitely think there's more upside. I think he's underpriced. Absolutely. I do. I think he could be a couple hundred more at least. Certainly 7,400 is cheap enough for me to take a shot. I would definitely play him this week. I'm like you. Like I'm the skeptical guy. I'm like, you don't need to play him for like a month or something. But yeah, I would just jump on him, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of we could look back and obviously he might be the most mispriced guy, in a year or two. There's no doubt about that. But I think right now, pretty good. As we work down to the bottom of the sevens, there's still plenty of names. Austin Eckroat's getting a lot of love. He was on fire late in the U.S. Open. Justin Sue is there. Bez, our guy, is there. Straka is here. Hostler, CT Pan. I mean, who you got answers in the low sevens? Because this is a tricky range.
Yeah, it is tricky because like there's a lot of names here you could just go and play. And like, I mean, like I could make cases for every single one of these players. Pretty much. I mean, yeah, Justin Sue's a fantastic putter. Bez is there. Bez is. I like Bez potentially the most because he's trending with the lowest ownership. He's done absolutely nothing wrong over the last 2 months. It just feels like everyone just decided to be out on him at the same time. But he's like 20,000 in the or 20,000 plus 20,000 now in the odds. He's gonna be like 2% owned here. Like I'll just take the lowest owned player I think of this range, and that's him right now. So no problem there. A guy who could certainly go out with his short irons and putter and shoot 61. I got a little bit of love for Bo Hosler at 7,100 as well. Yeah. He's played a little bit better. I bet I'd put him in our first round leader bets too as well. Another guy who, by the way, like don't forget, who was Wyndham Clark's partner at the Zurich Classic?
Oh, you are
Bo Hosler. Yes, connecting the dots here. Bo Hosler's got to take a little bit of motivation. I like that for a first round leader move at the very least. Bo Hosler probably saying, "Oh, hey, I played with that guy. A little magic can rub off." But I mean, Hosler's played well here. He's a good putter as well. Makes a lot of sense. I know the irons aren't good, but especially for showdown, just a guy to keep in mind. But yeah, Bez, Patrick Rogers, you could throw in. The guy I struggle a little bit with is Eckroat. Yep. I know he's good. I know he's striking it extremely well. It's just everybody now in the entire world, like guys who like only bet baseball are talking to me about Austin Eckroat today. Like everyone's playing Austin Eckroat. So to me, it's just a logical point at 7,300 for a guy like this who's had a hot streak, but now everyone's on him. It just makes at this price point, it makes a lot of sense just to find a pivot. And you're telling me Christian Bezain now it's going to be 1/10 the ownership? Yes, I'm going to play Bez.
That part makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
The thing that's crazy about Bez specifically, well, you said he didn't even do anything. Like he wasn't like playing great, and then he missed a couple cuts, and it's like,
He just took a
oh,
week off.
like okay, he came in 38th at Memorial.
Yeah.
Sorry, he's gained strokes on the approach, which again, that's what you want here in every event since mid-March. The guy's a putting wizard. I don't know. Bez was up to like 270 to 1 in the outright market. Obviously, I like Bez quite a bit. And the great thing is you don't need to go crazy. If you take 15% Bez, you're going to be infinitely over the field. And I get it. I like Bo Hostler. What are you going to do with Sam Bennett? Because Sam Bennett is another player that we don't have really a sample. He's obviously got talent. His stats are all over the map because it's just like you're judging what type of player he is by 4 rounds, and then 4 more rounds come in, and now he's an elite putter suddenly. And I don't know what to make of him. He's flat 7, but I'm not sure how much room I have for him.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably make the same argument for Averg for him that we did for Ludwig down here for Bennett. I don't think they're necessarily on the same level of player, though. Like you said, I think Bennett's a little bit more up and down. He made the cut, then he shot 79, then he bounced back. But, what if that bad round comes on Friday? Like, I think at this kind of course, he did make the cut at Canada, but we're also talking about a elevated event. He's probably fine. He's probably fine to just keep playing. I almost feel like you should just keep playing both these guys, Aberg and Bennett, until they just show us that they need a break or something, because they're cheap. They've got talent and they've got upside to come in and potentially just like strike with the top 20 in any one of these fields. So I'm not like super as bullish on Bennett as I am on Aberg, but I can definitely see the argument at 7K. I mean, he's up against Herbert, Poston, who actually finished second here last year, but he's terrible now, and a bunch of guys who just aren't playing very good. So there's definitely an argument for him.
Go down to the 6s. I will say, I'll get this out of the way right now. I agree with that. I do not think that Michael Thorne Bjornsson is in that conversation with these guys.
Yeah.
I know he's another name that's on the rise and whatnot, but he has not shown me anything just yet. So that's a wait and see. I know some people want to try to jump on him. Webb is down there. We just got a question about good old Webb Simpson, who is in the set. I'm not playing him, and I have no plans to. Streelman is down here. Higo is down here. Neesmith is down here. Ches is down here. Nick Hardy played well. There are names if you want them. Who do you think is the guy to round out your lineups?
Yeah, no, and Stay Odd just made good point in the chat. Like, this is going to be kind of a pivotal range, I think, for a lot of people who are making top heavy lineups, because I mean, you can take a lot of different angles down here. Like, I know it's an elevated field, but I mean, Mark Hubbard stands out the most. This guy's been gaining multiple strokes on approach every week, and he's been doing it against good fields like Memorial T30. So I have really no reason to say Mark Hubbard isn't a great value here. I think he's made the cut 5 times at the Travelers too. A player you'd want on a shorter course, who can roll it a little, who can just get hot with his irons, in good form. And then my guy who really came through for me in Canada, Doug Gim, just absolute beast mode the last couple. He's figured something out. He can't putt, but if he's going to gain 8 strokes ball striking, it really doesn't matter. Yes. And he's 6,900. Those are the two, like, just in terms of just who are popping, from a stat perspective. But I have some interest in guys like Mackenzie Hughes, who shot a 60 here in 2022. He gained strokes last week. I think Hughes is actually a good tournament play. You could throw Streelman into the veteran mix, who's made a few cuts. Birdied 7 holes in a row here to win in 2014. If you remember that.
I do, sadly.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of players you can make cases for down here. And we haven't even hit like Ches Reavie at 6,700, who playing pretty good and making putts right now too. And probably at 6,700 probably will make you the cut. So
there are names. Again, you mentioned some of these guys have popped up on these boards before. Yeah, Dylan Wu is at 66. I don't mind that as well. He's really gaining on approach. None of these guys, again, they're in the sixes for a reason. None of them are going to be overly popular. I think Nick Hardy makes sense. Mackenzie Hughes is a dark horse guy that I mentioned earlier in the week a little bit as well. I'm not sure though. There's always a drop off point. Like for me, after you get past like maybe 66, I'm not sure what I got for you. There are some names like Scott Piercy, maybe a little bit, but I don't have much for you in the lower sixes this week. Do you have names down there?
So, I mean, 65, like I think Carson Young, going back to Carson Young makes sense. He's still gaining on his approach. He played well in Canada. I think taking another shot with him if you're down there makes sense. Lipsky, I give myself credit for making the one call at the Memorial, but I really have no idea what he's going to do this week. He was a disaster in Canada. I think it's okay to go back to Lipsky at 6,500. It's a pure variance play, but I mean, he is better than, like, I would say he's probably the best player in that range. So that's okay. But you're right. Like once you get under 65, you're taking some serious risk. Like Peter Malnati at 6,200. If his putter shows up, sure. He could make you maybe the top 20. Doc Redman, if his irons show up, same kind of deal. But boy, these guys are just like it's pretty thin that they're actually going to show up, and I have no idea which one it would be. And then we got our guy Russell Knox at the Bear Min, who I brought up on Twitter earlier.
Kyle Reefers is down there.
Kyle Reefers, yeah, smoking reefers qualified on Monday. So
don't play him, please.
There's no one I feel confident down here. Let's put it out. No confidence in any of these guys.
No, definitely not. My last question is who, and this isn't like a who the hell and this guy's a nobody. Apparently this is a potential somebody in the future. Benjamin James is 6,100, and I've seen this guy's name out there a little bit. I am not playing him. I think there's no need to play him. Do you know anything about whoever this is?
Absolutely do not. I saw the name pop up, and I feel like I perhaps read something about him at one point, but I haven't taken the time to research him this week. So normally I know I'm like the go-to guy for this, but I actually don't know this one at all, and I'm not playing him. So and even if I did know about him, I don't think I would play him. So
apparently he's a real player.
I believe it. I have no great information about him, so I'm not going to pretend like I do.
No, I mean, I believe goes to the University of Virginia.
The other thing is, it does feel like we're getting a lot of these.
He's a Milford guy. Shout out Milford. Good place. Okay. But again, none of this is relevant. I'm not making a hero call on a guy like that in an elevated event against professional golfers. So that's not how I roll. Maybe he's a prodigy. Maybe he's nobody. I guess
he's like 19 as well, which
that's what I mean. That's ridiculous. Yeah. All right. We say we build the lineup, get out of here. Come on now. You're inclined? Let's do it. Again, as always, whether it's the sim tool or any of the things we've got going on, it's all in the description of this video on YouTube. Appreciate the support. If you're not subscribed, if you want to hit the like button, all that stuff goes a long way. But make sure to just check out, again, no harm in clicking those links and seeing what we got. I think pretty damn confident something there could pique your interest. We want to make sure you guys are at least aware. But let's be aware of winning a couple $100,000 with this money-making lineup right now. Where are we going?
Yeah, some good contests out on DraftKings.
It really is.
As Ben said, I mean, it's still a good time. I mean, we got the dog days of summer. We got the Open coming up. It's good events. Let's go. I mean, we both like this guy. Let's go Colin Morikawa.
Okay, yeah. I like Morikawa. Rolling. Where do I want to go? This is not good because we've got. You know what? I'm gonna put in Ludwig Aberg.
Oh, okay.
I like this guy. I really think that he's a player, and at 7,400, he's gonna be one of our pay down options.
Look, if you're new to the show, it is very rare that Ben and I like a guy like 23 who has no history. We're usually the curmudgeons who are just like, you can't play this guy. He's never played before. So yeah, I'm in on that. I like that. I'm gonna throw in the guy have been talking up all week, probably to my own detriment. Adam Scott, veteran course, Bubba, DJ, Ches. I mean, all these guys. I mean, it's just like I like Adam Scott for a bounce back here. 7,900. He'll be lower owned than everyone around him. And we can still go to that range if we want to add in some chalk. So
definitely can do that. This is an easy click for me. It's a guy we both definitely like. Bez is just playing good golf, and I don't think that he's doing anything bad. I'm not concerned. He's going to be very, very low owned. But Zayden Hoot is just a player. 72. Sign me up.
okay, so it's really interesting now.
We can do a lot now
because we could go like Sanjay Fleetwood. We could go. Can't get up to Finau there, but we could go Hideki, Fleetwood, or we could go Cantlay and then dip back into the 78 range. So, like, I mean, we could go Cantlay, Hanley, and realistically, because we have Scott and Bez in there, like, it's probably not the worst call. I don't know. What do you think? I mean, I think it's fine, but I would probably rather go the more balanced route and say like Hideki and Fleetwood, but that's just me. I'll throw Hideki in there just to finish us off, but let me know your thoughts.
Yeah, I probably would go. You just have so many options here. With Hideki, you can take best available. You could take Homa and leave $500 on the table, no problem in an event like this. I would go to Fleetwood personally, so it's a good lineup. Leaves 100 on the table. There's endless options with that 2v2. You even could go to Rom.
Right.
Like I was looking, Rom and Bo Hostler works. Like if you're playing in a tournament, like a big tournament, that type of build can be super, super effective. But I like this team quite a bit. This is very similar to some of my main lineups this week, in how I'm building, because if one of the big names doesn't win, pepper the nines, pepper the young guns, and I think Bez is a serious threat to do some damage. But what a lovely show on this Wednesday. Again, if you've got questions, hopefully we answered them here. But if we didn't, at JazzRazDFS, at the Fantasy Grind. Good stuff. Shout out to everyone. I know it's not a major, but appreciate you guys supporting the show and supporting us here at Stokastic. Good luck this week for me and Jeff and Jordan Klein behind the glass. Good luck and enjoy the week. Come back next week. Same time, same place.
See you guys.